Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller. As Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this June 7th, 2022 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our Communications Manager, Emily Kaiser, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we'll ask you to virtually raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you are joining us virtually, the chat feature on this Zoom meeting is available only as technical support for users on their computer or smartphone. If you're experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, please submit a comment in the chat feature and I will help you troubleshoot. If you're a staff member experiencing technical issues, please contact the IT help desk for assistance. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded. A link to the video recording will be posted to wcroads.org in the coming days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table here, and it's also posted to wcroads.org. There's also a link available in the chat if you're joining us virtually. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, Emily. I now call this meeting to order and ask Aaron to please call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller,
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green,
Here.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Present.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Here.
and Commissioner Joey McCollum.
Present.
And the following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Cheryl Siddle, Assistant Director of Engineering Brett Schlack, Director of Operations Jim Harmon, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you, Aaron. I now ask if you would join us, please, in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion, any changes, additions, deletions? Seeing none. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas. Yes. Commissioner Joey McCollum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is acceptance of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes today. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of May 17th, 2022, appearing on pages 3 through 14 of the packet? So move.
Support.
Any additions, corrections, deletions? Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joey McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next, may I have a motion to accept the working session minutes of May 17th, 2022 as presented, appearing on pages 15 through 17 of our packet?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? Additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas. Yes. Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Last set of minutes, may I have a motion to accept the closed session minutes of May 17th, 2022 as presented? These were distributed separately at the table here today. So move.
Support.
Any discussion, corrections, or deletions? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas, and
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next item on our agenda, and the reason for all the smiling faces and the wonderful crowd here today, are 2 retirements. We have 2 resolutions of public service, the first of which is for Jim Harmon retiring as Director of Operations. Whereas James D. Harmon has served as a valuable full-time employee of the Washtenaw County Road Commission starting on February 21st of 1994 through June 15th, 2022, when he has elected to retire to enjoy time with his family and friends. And whereas James D. Harmon has provided 27 years of knowledge and experience as a civil engineer, supervisor, assistant director of engineering, and director of operations, which has greatly benefited the Road Commission, the citizens of Washtenaw County, and the traveling public. And whereas in having provided 27 years of faithful and valuable service to the Washtenaw County Road Commission, his experience and knowledge will be greatly missed. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Washtenaw County Board of County Road Commissioners, thank, acknowledge, and commend James D. Harmon for his dedicated service and wish him continued good health, happiness, and success in all his future endeavors. If someone would move that, please.
So moved.
Support. Thank you. All those, well, Aaron, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joya McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
With regret, yes. Yes. Going to take a picture, of course. Cheryl has the framed version of the resolution. Typically, we stand over here. I think, will that work? Emily's ready?
Here, we'll cover one.
In what, 2.5 years, 3 years, something? All right. Take your time. Thank you. All right. Oh. No. Do one more. One down. Want to just wait there? All right. Next, we have a retirement resolution for Mr. Paul Schneider. Whereas Paul Schneider has served as a valuable full-time employee of the Washtenaw County Road Commission starting on September 23rd of 1996 through June 15th of 2022, when he has elected to retire to enjoy time with his family and friends. And whereas Paul A. Schneider has provided nearly 27 years of knowledge and experience as a heavy truck driver, signal technician, heavy equipment operator, group leader, and foreman, which has greatly benefited the Road Commission, the citizens of Washtenaw County, and the traveling public. And whereas in having provided nearly 27 years of faithful and valuable service to the Washtenaw County Road Commission, his experience and knowledge will be greatly missed. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Washtenaw County Board of County Road Commissioners, thank, acknowledge, and commend Paul A. Schneider for his dedicated service and wish him continued good health, happiness, and success in all his future endeavors. A motion, please.
So moved.
Support. Thank you. Aaron, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner Joya McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller, Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Congratulations. So let's do a picture with the small group and then try and do one with the big group. Can we do that with both of you guys? Would that be all right? Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this one. Let's do the small one first.
Are you good? Green, Mr. How to get paid about it.
Ready? Go ahead. Jim, sign up.
Yeah.
You want to flip around and do the other one? There you go. Ready?
You made the sign.
Here you go.
Oh, I have a major headache.
Uh-oh.
Lately, I've been getting them.
Sorry. Thank you for coming in for this.
Yeah.
Welcome to use the back door if you want, or is the picture out front? Where's Emily?
In front of the road commission sign in the
Oh, they're going
front.
out in the grass?
That's
Okay.
gonna be neat. Picture.
Aaron Burkholz.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
The old pandemic kind of.
Got a phone
Yeah,
call
he
from
might have.
Gail.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
not sure. I know he's been there for a
possible
long
offer?
time.
Is
Over
it Paul?
20 years. But I don't know.
Scott.
All right, let's get back on track here. Public
Okay.
comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be
I had
allotted
not
3
seen she
minutes
called.
to address the board, and Emily will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Thanks, Commissioner. Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we'll take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For virtual attendees, we ask that you virtually raise your hand now. If you're viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click Join Audio. You can then raise your hand by clicking the Participants or Reactions button at the bottom of your screen, and then the Raise Hand button. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch-tone phone, raise your hand by dialing *9. I will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time. I'll announce your username or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. Please share your name and address before beginning your comments. For in-person attendees, we'll start with those of you who've signed in on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. I'll notify you when it's your turn. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to share their comments with the board.
Thank you, Emily. Do we have any hands raised at this time?
At this time, we don't have any hands raised.
Do we have anyone in the public arena who would like to speak today?
Not that is on the sign-in sheet.
All right, thank you. We will move on then to written communications, which appear on pages 18 through 25 of the packet. Any items that the commissioners wish to bring to our attention or inquire about? I see no hands raised, so we will move on to commissioner comment and staff follow-up to public comment. There was no public comment, so we will pass that item. New business. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 through 11, pages 26 through 55 of the packet?
Certainly.
A second, please. Support. Any discussion? Hearing none. Aaron, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes. Next, we have reports, our county commissioner liaisons. Emily, are they with us today?
Yeah, we have both commissioners with us, so I can start with Commissioner Sanders. Commissioner, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Good afternoon. I don't really have any updates for you specifically pertaining to the road commission. Yeah, I don't have anything for you at this time.
Thank you for being with us, Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schenk.
Okay, and then Commissioner Schenk, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Good afternoon. I want to let all of you know that we are considering our third American Rescue Plan Fund package. And there is a provision in there for addressing broken culverts. It would be a matching program. I believe that a number of you have participated with our staff to help us figure this out and make it work. So I want to appreciate your support in that. And if you have any comments on it, we're very happy to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schenk. Any questions for either of the commissioners from the commissioners? All right. We will move on to reports of the road commissioners. Commissioner Doug Fuller will go first.
I guess very briefly, last week, Wednesday and Thursday, McChrysop had its quarterly meeting, this time in Detroit. And there's nothing dramatic to report. I mean, the pool is, as I think we all are aware right now, is doing well financially. And this was in large part, that meeting was dedicated to hearing from all the fund managers, because we have in the order of magnitude of 30 different individual funds that we invest in. And annually, and it's this time of year, we get a report from each of those fund managers in person, up close, about what their hopes and desires are for next year. And we take that, then we think about what they said and compare to what they did, and make some sometimes make some recommendations about that. So the pool continues to be in good financial condition. For those of you that may not know him, I just heard this morning, actually, Scott Ossenmacher, who for a number of years was the deputy director of engineering, I think, or no, director of engineering. at
County
Monroe
Highway
County
Engineer.
Commission, and left there to go to the private sector. Just spent 5 months in the hospital with cancer. Scott is possibly in his mid-30s, Jim? Something like that. He has at least 2 kids. They're
Little.
yeah, relatively. I have no idea how that's going to play out, but for those of you that know Scott, that's the update on Scott. I've been wondering why I hadn't heard anything either from Scott or the company he works for, which apparently is still providing his health care and that sort of thing. So, anyway, that concludes my report.
Thank you for your service. Commissioner Yamas.
I did legislative updates from Ed Loya,
Noyola.
Noyola from the County Road Commission Associations on 5/23, 5/27, and 6/3. And like Cheryl, I'm sure, watching the update on the fuel tax relief and hope the backup that's supposed to come from the general fund is sufficient. Looks like it might be short, but that's all. I
Okay,
have to report. Thank you.
thank you. Commissioner McCullum.
Yes, on May 25th, I attended the weekly chat and there were 3 people in attendance. On June 5th, I walked the B2B Trail located at North Hydro Park in Ypsilanti Township. And it was beautiful and well done. I'm so glad we are part of the B2B Trail. And I read the County Road Association Summer Edition, and there were several articles that I found interesting.
Thank you. Commissioner Green.
I have no report.
Thank you. I'll report that on May 18th, there was a chat session and we were visited by Summer Roberts from the Washtenaw County Conservation District. And they have funding a 6-year millage of 0.02 mils passed in 2020 that has provided funding to expand their staffing and programming. On May 27th, I attended the retirement reception for Superior Township Treasurer Brenda McKinney. It was very well attended. It was a wonderful event. She felt duly appreciated, and I want to note that Commissioner Doug Fuller attended there as well.
And Commissioner Green.
And Commissioner Green,
That's true.
and we saw former Commissioner Bill McFarlane
Yes,
there
we did.
as
Had
well.
lunch with
It was
Mr.
good to see
McFarlane.
Bill. So it was a very nice tribute to Brenda, and she was pretty overwhelmed by all of it, but it was very nice. Next items on our agenda, Managing Director and staff reports appearing on pages 56 through 68 of the packet. Cheryl.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fuller. I'll start by asking if you have any questions on any of the information provided. Obviously, there were quite a few reports in the packet this week.
No. Just
All right, just a couple quick things. As Commissioner Yamas did indicate, we have been monitoring proposed legislation for a pause in the Michigan gas tax to see if indeed that does move forward, what the length of time, the duration. Right now it's specified at 3 months. There's also supposedly a provision for backfilling it out of the, I don't know if it's general fund or COVID funds, but somehow backfilling it so that it holds harmless the local governments by the suspension. But again, stay tuned as to whether or not that will actually move forward. In addition, all of you should have received in your physical mailboxes here, the new CRA Commissioner's Handbook. If you've not already done so, there is an online training that will be on June 20th. Please let Aaron know. It's free, but CRA has asked for registration so that a Zoom link can be sent out. So if you can let Aaron know if you plan to attend that on the 20th, that would be great. And then the other thing that has been obviously taking up a lot of time has been the staff changes. As happy as we are for Mr. Harmon and Mr. Schneider, that does have a cascading effect within our organization since we feel strongly about promoting from within whenever possible. So we did select Adam Lape to become our next Director of Operations. I know he's been sort of dual rolling it right now. As continuing on as superintendent and shadowing Jim in his director role. And then we have now posted the assistant superintendent position so that that will be backfilled. And again, that will continue to create vacancies within our organization, but we think it's important wherever possible to, again, promote from within and to try to also make decisions as quickly as possible so that we can sort of get through this process and everybody can understand what their new roles are within the organization. So that's what I have to share today. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't see any.
All right. I would be happy at this point to turn it over to Brent Schlack, who is here to give us an update in the engineering department.
Hi, Brent Schlack, Assistant Director of Engineering. Thank you, Cheryl, the board. I just have a few updates. We're continuing with some projects on Dexter Town Hall Road. That's between Island Lake and North Territorial. It's a safety project. We have our catch basin program, which is helping repair some of those catch basins. We've completed some portions of our pavement marking. We'll be continuing with that as well. We do have starting up next week our North Territorial and Pontiac Trail roundabout. And maybe possibly even later this week, we'll be setting up some silt fence. We do have some message boards out there informing the public of that starting. Barker Road is another project that will be starting up next week. That's Jennings to just east of Kearney Road. We did have some bids come in. Our State Road CMAC, our congestion mitigation air quality project, came in, and bids came in very favorable. They were just over 5% under our estimate, engineer's estimate. That has a completion of June of 23. And then Tuttle Hill Road, it's paving of Tuttle Hill Road between Martz and Hanover Drive. That one came in just over 4%, which is still a very good bid. Ajax was chosen as the contractor, or was read as the low bid for Tuttle Hill, and Dan's Excavating is for the state CMAC. We do have a couple of public meetings. One happened just yesterday for Barker Road, and North Territorial and Pontiac Trail will be this Thursday. So that's all I have for engineering.
Commissioner Fuller.
Who's doing Barker?
As far as the contractor, Barker Road is Cadillac Asphalt.
And just for anyone who's listening, I mentioned to Michelle Ford that there's a 4th of July parade in Whitmore Lake that uses Barker Road. So
Yeah,
there may be some questions.
yes, yeah, we did see that come through. We'll be working with that community to see what we can do to assist with that parade.
Perfect. Any questions for Brent?
One more.
Sure.
Is the road commission going to attend the public meeting this evening about Huron Road or Huron? Yeah, Huron Road overpass over 94.
Oh, for the pathway project?
no.
Yes, we'll have somebody in attendance, I'm assuming, for that project, yes. It does have some impacts with us with the township.
Thank you. I see none. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
Brent.
All right. Next up is Jim Harmon. I guess your last one here, Jim.
Good afternoon, Jim
Been
Harmon,
looking
Director of
for this one.
Operations.
28 years.
I think probably over 500 meetings that I've attended.
But who's counting?
But who's counting?
Well, we counted all the ones where West Prater and
Oh, no.
The good days.
We do want him to work for the next week. Otherwise, we're going to see his tail as he's running out the door.
Pleasure to be here. I thank you for your approval on the consent agenda of 6 more township agreements. That's probably it. There may be 1 or 2 more, but that really is the substantive approval. And today I added this up, that total value, local road improvements with those 6 agreements is $1.1 million.
Wow. Wow.
And the township share being just under 800,000. Total road investment in our local road program, or your local road program this year is $8.2 million. And the township's contribution is $6.5 million. So it is significant. It's important. It's a demonstration of the commitment of our local communities in public roads, good public roads. Is it enough? No, but it's better than zero. And we welcome that partnership, and staff is grateful for your support and for your approvals. So we will continue onward. So again, I thank the board for that. As part of that, there 8.2 million, remind the board you had appropriated $1.5 million in matching funds this year, and you accepted staff's recommendation to simplify that program. And that's gone a long way to helping the townships better understand how that works. There were too many moving parts before, and that simplification has made it more understandable and easier to administer. So thank you for that. There were a few dollars, about just under $25,000 that were carried over from last year. 2 of the townships opted to do that, which is an important provision in your policy. So that money was brought to bear. And then at the end of this, through today, there's just over $33,000. 2 of the townships were not able to capture all the dollars, and they've committed to investments for next year. So there's no forfeiture. And that was a good thing. Really appreciate those hard-earned dollars, that treasure going into roads and not being lost in any way, shape, or form. With the staff report that starts in your booklet on page 57 for the operations department, and concludes on page 61. And it covers that period from May 9th through May 22nd. So I just pause if the board had any questions about the information. It's pretty straightforward.
I have a question about the partnership with the townships, and the simplification was rolling the drainage match in with the regular road improvement funds, right? So it's one.
Yeah.
My concern would be, are we then going to be neglecting the drainage issues because the roads have such high needs?
Our experience has been no.
Good.
We have included proposals for drainage improvements in our investment proposals to the townships, and they've accepted that in many ways. Berm removal, ditching, culverts, small culverts that are part of a larger project. And really, we've seen no diminishment in interest in drainage. There's a good understanding that good roads are all about drainage, drainage, drainage. And
Okay.
we've preached that for years, and it resonates. So
Even the
far,
new
so-
supervisors get that.
they
That's-
do. We've taken
that's great.
time to educate. We've provided lots of documentation that is in, it's presented in a way that's understandable. We take the time to talk to the officials and explain and answer any questions they may have, and it's working. And our foremen and superintendents have developed tremendous working relationships with our township partners. Phone calls are answered promptly, emails are returned. We're there to help serve those communities and the public roads in those communities. So we are excited to go forward, fulfill this year's program, and certainly looking to the future.
And how many of the townships requested in-person appearances by a member of the road commission on this point?
3.
Okay.
They really have gotten accustomed to virtual interaction, emails, phone calls. Foremen will see them in person. Really coming out of the pandemic, we haven't seen a large demand in in-person meetings, but there were a few and they were appropriate. And I think it was really helpful. Webster Township is an example. Tony Grubb, our District 1 foreman, and I attended a meeting recently. You approved the second agreement today. And that was a deliberative process. We had probably 4 or 5 road proposals before them, and they couldn't afford them all. And so we were able to be present, answer questions. They allowed members of the public to speak. And ultimately were able to make a decision and invest a significant sum of money in this case, the local portion of here of Walsh Road off of here in River Drive.
So you went to Webster. I assume you went to Bridgewater. Or no?
We did not. We went to
No.
Manchester.
Went
I
to
attended
Manchester, that's right.
Manchester. In that instance, Webster Township,
Is it Linden?
Linden Township. Paul attended Linden while I was
Oh,
at York. So I think that's 4 that come to mind
okay.
right away that we were able to attend.
Well, as having gone to 20 of them in the past, in the span of what, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. I really appreciate how well you've picked up the ball and run with that. And it seems like it's a good alternative and nobody misses us.
If they change their mind, we'll make accommodations.
Yeah, okay.
The intent is to reach agreement, and if that's what's necessary to help them make an informed decision, we're prepared. As part of this, and also including our unpaid primary system, I've reported before, a significant amount of mostly limestone, but road gravel as well, is programmed to go down on our public roads this year. Some of which has already been placed, and it amounts to over 200 and, if I can read that number, 8,000 tons. And I've reported before, and I mean this seriously, that is a mountain of material, a mountain. If you think of the size of the dome, the salt dome, that's a 20,000 ton capacity. This is 10 times that amount. And it's vendor supply through our public bidding process. And those are contracts that you as board have approved and awarded. And we're moving forward at this time, placing that material, most of which is in partnership with townships, but there are primary road investments as well. And we're excited to do that. It's necessary. That is what makes those roads possible is a fresh lift of limestone or gravel, depending on what they're surfaced with. And it's great to be able to get to that level of investment to take care of these unpaved roadways. The money and the willingness to fund a reconstruction and pavement is simply not there. Yeah, that's roughly about $1.5 million a center line mile. And these projects are more in line of 65,000 to 180,000, depending on how much tree trimming is necessary and how much berm removal and ditching. Those can vary pretty broadly. Finally, I put in your box an update, and coming out of the meeting, once I get job numbers, I'll fill in a few more blanks and I'll send you an update. And senior management, I also share variations of this with other staff in the organization. All of this includes the local program. Just for the operations department amounts to $18.9 million.
Wow.
Significant. And that's all possible because of the team. Whether that's the shop or the stockroom or facilities, providing the facility and property support that we need. And certainly the road crews, several of them were here today to honor their retiring foreman. They're the ones that do all this. They're the ones that manage any of the contracted services. Mike Burnbeck is operations engineer and helps make that all possible. So I thank all of you for your ongoing support so that we can fulfill that mission and all these obligations. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again, Jim, for your many years. Cheryl?
If I may, before Jim
Yes,
sits
you
down,
may.
I would like to thank you, Jim, for the numerous contributions that you have made to this organization over the last 27 years. Starting in traffic and safety, knowing all the things that you did in permits, the improvements developers contributed to, and thinking about what our road system would be like had those improvements not been put into place. That was huge, especially in the heyday of all the development that was going on back in that time period. And then seeing the level of professionalism that you've brought to the operations department. We do have excellent staff in that department, and you just heightened the services that they provide. I look at whether it's the equipment and our chip seal operation and the way that we conduct that now, the building of the Northeast Service Center and being able to provide the services up to the northeast part of the county, just the day-to-day operations. You have taken us to a whole new level, and I can only hope that we can continue the work and the effort that you've put into place, but you have taken us to those places, and I really do appreciate everything that you've done over the last 27 years.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. It's been my privilege. I really taken public service to heart. That's where I pledged my professional career. In addition to that, the Road Commission has been very gracious and allowed me to represent you. Served as vice chair in the Homeland Security Task Force and got to know the emergency response community, which I have nothing but respect for. So Emergency Council, 2 separate committee opportunities serving with this County Road Association, one in the permit subcommittee, and then the bigger one was the negotiating committee and negotiating primarily state trunk line maintenance contracts for the whole state with a team of other professionals and peers. Being part of the 800 megahertz radio consortium. And it was important to me to turn that over to Jeff Mann. It's most appropriate that Jeff represents us in that capacity now and to support him going forward. Superintendents Association serving on the statewide board of directors. And I don't say this to boast, I say this out of gratitude that these were additional opportunities to serve and serve beyond Washtenaw County, to represent Washtenaw County within our county with our larger community, but also to serve on a state level and serve with professionals across the state. And it provided a much more diverse perspective for me, and I think enhanced my outlook and my commitment to our organization. So I wish that going forward for my successor and for our staff to be able to continue to participate at that level. I thank you. It's been wonderful.
It's our honor. Thank you, Jim.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy wherever you're headed on the 16th.
Be on the 18th because I'm going to do a little packing. I'll be heading to the great state of Maine for a vacation with my lovely wife. So, thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Taking any of the kids?
No.
He answered that one pretty darn fast, didn't he, Doug?
All right, and last but not least, we have Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT.
Good afternoon, Board. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT for the Road Commission. Before I give my report, I would like to just publicly acknowledge Jim and say thank you for your service to the agency and for all the interactions and meetings we've had over the years, especially we've had some great budget meetings. Jim is always someone you could rely on. And a lot of times when we meet going over the budget, there's some homework and he's always right on it. And did you have an accounting minor or no?
No.
You seem like you like numbers. Yeah. But, it's just a pleasure working alongside you all those years. And, when I say Jim was is a great advocate for the Road Commission, I remember when you took over Director of Operations, the state says, here's your budget for state trunk line. And Jim's always on it as far as, especially the last couple of months, how much money we have left. And he made sure that nothing was left on the table. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing, because sometimes might have gone a little over what our budget was. MDOT always paid, of course. But there were some years that, we would get to the end of the line for the state trunk line budget and there would be some money left over. And I would always be, okay, the money doesn't come back to the Road Commission. You'd think, well, maybe in the next fiscal year, they give it to us. I'm not sure. Do you know where it goes? Okay. So I always appreciate the fact that whatever budget we had, Jim was on it and he definitely had his people making sure they were spending it. There was also probably a decade or more that our budget with the state, the initial budget was always the same. And it's like, well, what about inflation and everything else? And, I was at those meetings with Jim in the state of Michigan, always an advocate. Hey, we need more, it could probably double and we would spend it and then we would still need more. And certainly the last few years here, we've seen more from them. So it's the things like that has really benefited us with what Jim has done as far as being an advocate. He was on the negotiating committee with the state, had some pretty hard discussions with them. I think at one of them, you got auditors involved too, right? So we threw the kitchen sink at the state of Michigan to help them be successful, I guess. And, ended up getting some nice contracts out of that. But, that was Jim leading the charge. And again, that's not something he had to do, but he volunteered his time and did a great job. So just appreciate everything. So thanks. And then Paul Snyder too, one of our excellent foremen. I wonder if he's got some sort of numbers in his background because, a lot of his township agreements, his estimating is usually spot on as far as the actual costs when they come in. And, just always great to work with him. He's got quite a sense of humor, I'll put it that way. But anyway, so just wanted to say something about both those fine fellows. They'll be missed. And I always tell somebody when they leave the Road Commission, we don't forget about you. And if there's anything I can do or the organization can do for you in retirement, to just give us a call. Or I even say, give me a call and just say, hey, life is great. Some employees, some retirees actually took me up on that. They're cruising around the country, and say, hey, I just want to call and say life is great. And so, but it's always good. We don't forget. And, that's important too. So, all right, well, we'll go back. We'll go into my report. Go to the very last page. Michigan Transportation Funds. I was glad to hear several of you bring up the potential state holiday on the gas tax. I always get a little leery when they say, well, we're going to take the money from you, but we'll pay you back some other day. I'm sure, hopefully that will happen if it does go forward, because there's been a lot of statements made in public, but that always just makes me a little leery. So certainly I'm kind of back to being a little more cautious about Michigan transportation funds, especially when I saw $5 a gallon. You know, that's got to have an impact. And the problem is we don't know when that's going to change. And I've heard all sorts of things that could like double. I don't know. It just concerning for me. And again, we'll be watching that closely, and certainly if it's prolonged, you know, what impact does that have on future years for us? You know, I'm not as concerned about this year. I think, you know, everything's really good, but if it goes 2 or 3 years, high gas prices, or if this is permanent, then who knows what sort of long-term implications we'll see.
Dan, remind me, the gas tax component of what's paid at the pump is a flat amount, right? When the price of gas goes up,
Yes,
the portion that comes for roads does not change.
correct. It's based on consumption. So when the price goes up, people typically will drive less, and that means we receive less as an agency, right?
But we get it per gallon,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Right,
Yes.
not per dollar.
Right, per gallon, yes. So you can see here, and I thought, here we go, because April of 22 is actually the first month we're down from 2021. But I did a little bit of investigating, and April of 2021 was actually up over 40% from April of 2020. So it's not as dramatic. You know, if you looked at a 2-year history, it would still be increasing. So not exactly sure what happened in April of 2021. Do you recall, Cheryl? Well, I guess
Would have been
April of 20
comparing
was
to
the pandemic,
I mean,
right?
that would have been the pandemic.
So you're looking at probably pandemic numbers compared to post-pandemic. Either way, obviously it's down. We're still fine as far as our budget to what we're projecting, but it just, you know, I'm just wondering when we might see some prolonged decreases potentially. Although now we're getting more from the license and registration fees, I believe, than the gas tax, right? Didn't that kind of
It's about
change?
40% coming from the gas tax at this point right now of our MTF, what it's made up, about 40% of that is the gas tax. It used to be about 50, now it's only about 40.
So it's kind of interesting how that trend has shifted, and even more so, right? If gas prices remain high, obviously the cost of vehicles isn't going down either. So you might see even more disparity there potentially. So I don't know if there's any questions on the Michigan transportation funds, but I just, like I said, I was glad to hear several of you mention, you know, some of the things coming from the County Road Association, and you know, I know we've got folks watching this closely, but obviously it has some, you know, serious impacts potentially. So.
Commissioner Yamas.
So like Cheryl, I looked at the proposal and I read it, and supposedly, like you said, they're going to return it, but even what they're going to return to does not match what we would get. There's a shortfall, and
Sure.
it took me some math and some reading, and I thought, okay, what about that shortfall? It's still a shortfall.
Yeah.
To the promise that they say they're going to give us, but it's not in some strong writing yet. And I guess, like you said, you're watching that, the impact. It worries me, the impact that it'll have to us.
Right. And I don't know if they said the timing, would that be immediate? So, you know, it would be reduced, but then they would offset it. Would that be right away, or would that be in the future? I'm not sure. That's another thing too, you know, and that's, you know, cash flow sort of thing, right? So maybe we're getting less here, and then months later they're making us whole, but then still it could create some cash flow issues potentially, but you know, obviously we'll only know until they actually approve it. So.
Sure. I believe what was recently proposed, they were trying to have bipartisan support for it so that they could have immediate effect on the legislation. The last time when they were attempting to do it, they didn't have enough votes to be able to have immediate effect. So it was one of those things that by the time it took effect, the time period had already passed. So it was more political than anything else.
Right.
This time it does appear they're at least attempting to have bipartisan support, so they would have enough votes for it to take immediate effect. To Commissioner Yamas's point, I mean, right now they're saying 3 months. They're saying they're gonna backfill, but the devil will be in the details, and what that exactly means, that's critically important to this organization. And those are the things we don't have answers to yet.
Those are not written in the bill.
They are not.
Was it the devil's in the details or something
Yes.
like that?
That
So,
was in the detail.
yeah. Any other questions on MTF at all? Okay. Just thought it would make sense to just kind of talk about that a little bit. Finance is also, we're trying to finalize our first township billings, get those out. Jim shared the significant investments, and obviously we want to make sure that some of the work is being done, of course. We want to make sure we get those bills out to the townships. So we're working on finalizing those and sending them out to the townships, hopefully within a week or so. Get that going. We also submitted our first county millage invoice for 2022. Once our agency spends it, we want to make sure that it comes back to the road commission. And so we have a very good process between myself and engineering and the county as well. And so, yeah, we did receive that first invoice. I think the turnaround was like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Or less. So it's always, again, we cut the check to Cadillac Asphalt, let's say, and then the money can come into the road commission. So we've got a pretty good process. Actually, we have a second invoice already in the hopper. So hopefully we'll have a quick turnaround on that too, once we submit it. So that's exciting. And then as far as IT, just want to share that all staff has been migrated to our team's phone. I think Chris is still here. So real heavy lift for Chris and Josh. They had a great plan and executed it tremendously. Very little issues. And so that's nice. And now we hope that staff utilizes the technology that's available to them. So there's a few cleanup items that they have, but for the most part, that transition is done. So it's great. And also they're working on computer refreshes, finally received all the laptops that were on order, supply chain and so on. And so he and Josh are working on setting those up and getting them out to the users. So, any
Never a dull
questions?
moment.
Question, that's not gonna be us, right? We're good with what we have.
Your computers? Yeah, they're good for a while. Yeah, okay.
Anything else for Dan?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. That's it for staff.
All set?
Thank you.
Okay. We will now, I'll entertain a motion at this time to begin our scheduled closed session under Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the TPOAM contract negotiations. May I have a motion, please?
Certainly.
Second. Thank you. Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green, and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Aye. And I just want to note, and Emily will go through the housekeeping here in a quick minute, that we'll be going upstairs into the conference room for this closed session conversation. So Miss Emily.
Thanks, Commissioner. So for virtual participants, if you're not a road commissioner or designated staff member, I'll now move you to the virtual waiting room. If you'd like to be returned to the open session of the meeting once we've completed the closed session, please remain in that virtual waiting room. I'll readmit you once the closed session has been completed. For in-person attendees, you're welcome to stay in your seats. You can wait in the boardroom until the closed session has resumed. So we are all set. Everybody from the waiting room is back in and audio connected.
All right. Welcome back to our regular session, everyone. We have returned from our closed session. I would note that on June 21st, we have our next meeting. We have a working session at 9 a.m. and a board meeting at 1. Our virtual chat sessions occurring every Wednesday as usual from noon to 1. Tomorrow it's Commissioner Rod Green, and on June 15th, Commissioner Gloria Yamas. If there is no further business to come before this board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCullum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas Fuller,
Aye.
and Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.